I had been planning this solo road trip for weeks. I needed to get away from everything classes, responsibilities, the constant noise of life. My backpack was packed, my car was ready, and my GPS had my route mapped out perfectly. I told myself it would be relaxing, maybe even a little adventurous. I didn't know then how wrong I was. The drive started normally. The sun was setting as I left the city behind, and for a while, the winding roads through the countryside were beautiful. Trees blurred past my window, and the smell of pine and damp earth filled the car. I felt a strange comfort in the isolation, a sense that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. That comfort didn't last long. After a while, my GPS suggested a shortcut I had never seen before, a narrow road that cut through thick woods. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something made me trust it. Maybe it was the quiet thrill of taking a path less traveled. At first, everything seemed normal. The road was clear, the trees towering overhead, their branches knitting together to make a dark canopy. Then, I noticed it. Silence. There were no cars, no animals, no wind moving through the leaves. Nothing. Just the sound of my own tires rolling over the asphalt. Hours seemed to pass, though I couldn't be sure. The GPS kept repeating, next town. 3 miles, even though I had been driving far longer than 3 miles. My stomach tightened. Something wasn't right. Primera slowed down, trying to make sense of the endless road. The oppressive darkness, the thick fog that seemed to press closer with each passing mile. And then I saw the sign, rusted, leaning slightly, swaying in a breeze I didn't feel. Welcome to Grayville, it read. I frowned, confused. I had never heard of this town. It wasn't on any of my maps. My GPS insisted I was on course, but every instinct I had screamed that I was lost. Still, curiosity or maybe arrogance pushed me forward. The town emerged slowly from the fog, or maybe it had always been there, hiding in the shadows. At first glance, it looked normal. A small gas station, a few houses, street lamps, flickering dimly. But as I drove closer, the reality of it hit me like ice. The streets were completely empty. Not a single car, not a person, not a sound of life except my own breathing and the faint hum of the engine. The windows of the buildings were dark and still. Mailboxes sagged with old letters. The sidewalks were cracked and overgrown. The air was thick, heavy, unnatural. I parked my car near the center of the town and stepped outside. The wind door. Maybe it wasn't wind at all swept through the streets, carrying a faint metallic scent. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. I called out, almost laughing at myself for being scared. Hello. My voice sounded weak, swallowed by the unnatural silence. No response. Then I heard it. A whisper. Soft, almost teasing. My name, Alex. I froze, my blood running cold. Ispun Harun, half expecting to see someone emerge from the shadows. Nothing. Just the fog curling through the streetlights. I took another step, telling myself it was the wind, my imagination, a trick of my mind. But the whisper came again. Closer this time, clearer. Alex, over here. My breath caught in my throat. I ran back to my car and locked the doors, my hands shaking. The GPS was still on, still insisting I was on the right path, but the map no longer made sense. The roads twisted in ways they hadn't before. The lights in the town flickered, casting long, impossible shadows that moved when they shouldn't. I didn't know how long I stayed in the car, waiting, listening. Time felt wrong. Hours could have passed in minutes. Minutes could have lasted hours. 10 primeras AW? It just at the edge of the fog, a shadowy figure standing under a streetlight. I couldn't make out its features. It didn't move like a person, but it moved. Slowly, deliberately, watching me. I tried to stall the car. The engine turned over, but the headlights went out. The figure stepped forward, and I saw that it was impossibly tall, impossibly thin, with limbs that bent wrong. It tilted its head as though it knew me, as though it had been waiting. My name whispered again. closer, coming from everywhere and nowhere all at once. I slammed my foot on the accelerator. The car lurched forward, but the road stretched endlessly. The town never ending. The sign, "Welcome to Grayville," appeared again as if I had passed it 1,000 times, though I knew I hadn't. Panic rose like a wave I couldn't hold back. I screamed, the echo swallowed by the darkness, and then, as suddenly as it began, the road straightened. The fog lifted slightly, the trees parted, and for a brief moment, I saw a familiar highway ahead. My heart was racing, my hands shaking uncontrollably, but the feeling of being watched didn't leave. I knew, deep down, that Grayville hadn't let me go. That town wasn't on any map, and it never truly let anyone leave. I drove on in silence after that night. I never spoke of it. No one believed me anyway. But sometimes, when I take a lonely road at night, I swear I can see the flicker of a street lamp in the distance, and I hear my name whispered softly in the wind. Grayville waits. The moment I drove past the edge of Grayville, or what I thought was the edge, it became clear that I hadn't escaped. The road stretched endlessly, but it no longer resembled the familiar highways I knew. Every tree, every curve, every shadow seemed wrong. It was like the town had grown around me, shifting, waiting. I tried to call someone. My phone had full signal, but every number I dialed went straight to silence. No ringing, no voicemail, only static and then a faint whisper, too soft to understand, but unmistakably my name. My heartbeat drummed in my ears. I told myself it was the stress, the exhaustion, maybe even the isolation talking. But, deep down, no better. The streetlights ahead flickered, revealing empty houses with cracked windows and doors hanging open. The smell of decay hit me then, the faint scent of something rotten mixed with wet earth. I tried to rationalize it, maybe abandoned, maybe old, but that instinctual fear, the one that grips your chest and refuses to let go, told me this was something else entirely. I stopped the car near a small diner with peeling paint, the sign overhead barely lit. Open 24 hours. No cars, no sounds, no movement inside. The door creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, the booths were covered in dust, menus yellowed and stuck together. But the strangest part, the chalkboard menu had my name on it. "Alex Today's Special," it read, though I had never been here before in my life. I stepped back, heart racing. Then I heard Ita soft tapping behind me. I spun, but the diner was empty, just a faint echo of something moving. Or someone. My hands shook as I got back into the car. I didn't want to look at the road ahead, but curiosity and fear forced me. The street outside was no longer the same. The buildings stretched taller, closer, windows forming impossible angles, corners that didn't exist before. And there, standing in the middle of the road, was the figure from the night before. Tall, thin, featureless, with limbs that bent wrong, tilting its head as if studying me. I tried to start the car again. Engine roared to life. Headlights cutting through the thick fog. I floored the gas pedal, but the town didn't tell me pass. The road twisted in impossible ways. Primera turned left, it became right. I turned right. Vicame, left. Every turn brought me back to the diner. The sign, the shadow. Then I saw them figures in the windows. Not people I recognized, but silhouettes, staring at me. Faces blank or distorted. Their bodies too long, too thin. They didn't move toward me, but they were watching. Their presence alone made the air heavy, oppressive. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, now coming from every direction. Alex. 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 I pressed the horn, screamed, anything to break the silence. It was useless. The figures didn't flinch. The shadow in the street tilted its head and stepped closer, though somehow never crossing the lines of the fog. My mind said panic clawed at me. I had to leave. I had to get out. But the town, Grayville, it didn't allow it. Then I noticed something strange on the road ahead. Faint footprints, too large and too deep to be human. moving ahead of my car, forming a path that twisted unnaturally. The GPS recalculated again and again, but it no longer showed roads, only a pulsing dot, like a heartbeat, guiding me somewhere I didn't want to go. I considered leaving the car, running, hiding, but the whispering intensified. Names I didn't even know were called out. The figures in the windows started moving, reaching impossibly long arms toward me, as though the very town was alive. I felt frozen, trapped, my instincts screaming that leaving the vehicle might be worse than staying. Hours or maybe minutes passed in that strange, warped town. Exhaustion and terror blurred reality. I could feel it, the town watching, waiting, reshaping itself around me. Every familiar street sign, every shadow, every broken window. It was all wrong. But the worst part was knowing this wasn't temporary. Grayville didn't let people go. They didn't care who you were. It just waited. And then, as I sat in the car, shaking and hopeless, I saw a figure appear directly in front of me. It wasn't the tall, thin one anymore. This one was shorter, hunched, its face completely obscured, whispering my name over and over. I hit the brakes, heart pounding, but the car didn't stop. The world outside seemed to stretch, elongate, twist, as if the town itself had taken control of the laws of reality. That's when I realized something I couldn't unthink. Grayville didn't just exist somewhere off the map. Grayville existed everywhere, whenever it wanted, and it had marked me. I slammed the car into reverse, screaming, hoping to find any exit. The fog thickened. The whispering became a chorus of voices, chanting my name. I shut my eyes for a moment and, when I opened them, I was back at the sign. Welcome to Gravel. No cars, no street lights, no exit, only the whispering calling me back. I don't know how long I stayed there that night. Hours, days, time didn't exist. All I knew was that the town wanted me. Netted wouldn't he stop calling. I drove home the next morning, or at least I thought I did. The GPS finally worked. The roads returned to normal. The sun rose, and everything looked familiar. But sometimes, at night, when the fog rolls in and the streets are empty, I hear it. Alex, and I know, somewhere, Grayville is still out there. Witten, I thought I had escaped. After the longest, most twisted night of my life, the fog finally lifted, the roads straightened, and my GPS worked again. I convinced myself it was over, that Grayville had released me, that the whispers were gone. Primera why is it wrong? A week later, I found myself driving late at night, a different route, a route I had taken dozens of times before. The streets were empty, quiet, but then, through the corner of my eye, I saw it. A familiar flicker of shadow moving across the road. My stomach sank. My hands tightened around the steering wheel, and then I heard it. A whisper, faint at first, almost polite. Alex. I slammed on the brakes. The road ahead had changed. The trees, the fog, the houses, they were all wrong. Nothing was where it should be. The GPS recalcitrantly recalculated my route, showing a single pulsing dot ahead. A heartbeat. My heartbeat. I wanted to turn, to run, to drive in any other direction, but the town itself seemed alive. The road twisted impossibly, doubling back on itself. Streetlights stretched unnaturally overhead. Shadows moved in impossible angles, their forms bending and reaching toward me. Grayville was no longer on the map. It didn't need to be. It existed wherever it wanted. I exited my car, shaking, terrified, but drawn forward by an unseen force. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Not just my name anymore. Names I didn't know. Voices overlapping, chanting, laughing, mocking. Alex. 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 I walked into the center of the town, and that's when I saw it. The town itself. The buildings leaned, twisted, stretching toward me. Windows and doors appeared where they shouldn't, then vanished. Street signs bent, like metal and heat. The fog was thick, suffocating, alive. And then I saw them. Figures, countless figures standing silently in the streets, in windows, emerging from the fog. Some tall, thin, impossible. Some hunched, grotesque. They didn't move toward me. They didn't need to. Their presence was enough to freeze me in place, to crush every rational thought. I could feel Grayville watching me, judging me, deciding my fate. And then I realized the worst truth. Grayville doesn't just trap people. It consumes them, not physically, but in every way that matters. Your mind, your sense of reality, your fear, it feeds on Italiano. The town had waited for me, and now I was part of it. I ran, stumbling, desperate, trying to find the car. Every street I took brought me back to the same place. The diner, the sign, the same oppressive fog. The whispers were deafening now, a chorus of voices calling, laughing, mocking. My name, over and over. I reached my car and slammed the door. The engine roared to life. I floored it, praying, screaming, willing the road to open up. For a moment, it seemed I was free, the fog thinning, the buildings shrinking back into nothing. But then I saw it again. The figure in the middle of the road, tall, impossibly thin. Limbs bending wrong, tilting its head and baned it. Hundreds of eyes glowing in the windows of buildings that weren't there before. I swerved. The car spun, tires squealing, heart pounding. The world around me bent, twisted. Grayville had me. It always had me. And then the whispering stopped. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't on any road I recognized. Fog stretched endlessly in every direction. The pulsing dot on the GPS was gone. The shadows in the fog shifted, forming shapes I couldn't comprehend. And then I understood. Grayville wasn't just a town, it was everywhere. It was in every road I had ever driven, every corner I had ever turned, every path I would ever take. It was patient. It waited, and it always called me back. I don't leave my house at night anymore. I don't drive anywhere alone. But sometimes, when I glance at a map, when I see a deserted road stretching into the horizon, I hear it again. And I know, with a certainty that chills me to my core, that one day I will answer. Grayville is still out there, watching, waiting, and it will never let me go.